They that hate me without a cause are more than the hairs of mine head. They that would destroy me, being mine enemies wrongfully, are mighty. Then I restored that which I took not away. Psalm 69 verse 4. David names the number of his enemies first. He claims they are more than the hairs on his head. This is not rhetorical inflation. David faces genuine opposition. Men who have aligned themselves against him through Saul's court, through slander, through political machinery that has turned the apparatus of Israel's government into a weapon aimed at one man. The number is not the point. The cause is. They hate him without cause. This phrase carries legal significance. In a court of law, a cause is a charge, a legitimate grievance, a documented reason for prosecution. David's enemies have none. Their hatred exists apart from any wrongdoing on David's part. They have not built their case on evidence. They have built it on malice and the desire to remove him from the position God placed him in. The enemies are also described as mighty. David does not minimize them. They possess genuine power, influence, and the capacity to harm him. He does not pretend his enemies are weak or that their threat is overstated. He names them. Then comes the most striking phrase in the verse. Then I restored that which I took not away. David describes himself as paying back what he never stole. This is the position of a man accused who must answer for crimes he did not commit. The legal system his enemies control forces him into a posture of restitution for offenses that belong to his accusers. The New Testament writers apply this verse to Christ. Jesus quotes the first half in John 15, verse 25, declaring that his enemies hate him without a cause, fulfilling what the law itself stated. The second phrase, restoring what he did not take, points to Calvary, where the sinless Son of God bears the full penalty of sins he never committed. Every debt on the cross belongs to the ones who put him there, yet he pays it in full. O God, thou knowest my foolishness, and my sins are not hid from thee. Psalm 69, verse 5. David shifts without warning from declaring his innocence before men to confessing his guilt before God. The transition is not a contradiction. It is a distinction between two different courts. Before Saul and his accusers, David is innocent. Before God, David is not. He holds both realities without collapsing one to protect the other. Thou knowest my foolishness. The word translated foolishness carries the meaning of moral failure, not mere intellectual error. David is not confessing poor judgment in a neutral sense. David acknowledges genuine moral failure before a God who sees everything. He does not list his sins here. He just states that God knows them without exception. My sins are not hid from thee. Nothing is concealed. David does not approach God as a man with a clean record, making demands on the basis of his righteousness. He approaches as a man who is innocent before his human accusers, but guilty before his divine judge. This brings both realities into the same prayer with no contradiction. This verse guards the psalm against misreading. David's cry for justice against his enemies does not rest on his personal sinlessness. It rests on God's character and God's covenant. David cannot stand before God on the basis of his own record. He stands on the basis of who God is, not who David is. The confession also functions as a form of trust. A man who hides his sins from God does not trust him. David's transparency before God, naming his foolishness and sins without deflection, is itself an act of faith.